Already, I think we can get started now. So thank you everyone for joining. My name is Patrice. I am the VP of Products at Axel AI, and I'm joined today by Katie Scott, who is VP of Operations. Thank you again for joining. And today we are going to discuss a little bit about Axel and the admin section of Axel. Couple notes about this webinar. First of all, it is currently being also streamed live on Facebook. So thank you all for watching. And it is being recorded. We are going to provide a copy of the recording at a later time. Feel free to use the question and answer sections you will see at the bottom of your Zoom interface, a Q&A. Feel free to use it to ask your question as we go along. And you can also use the chat window if needed. And with that, I am going to now start to share my screen. And before we dive into the uh, admin section of Axel, for those who are not familiar with Axel, I'm just going to give a quick refresher. So Axel is basically a software that is going to monitor the folder structure in your system. And I am tapped to another computer. I'm going to just tap locally now just to briefly show the capabilities of Axel locally. So it is software running on your own server. And you access it by either the IP address, the computer name, or the URL that you can give. And the first thing you will see typically will be the login page. And as a user, I will be able to log in and access the content of my Axel system. And once I log in, you will see on the left side the folder structure that Axel is actually remembering. And that is the same folder structure that you will see within the Finder window or Windows Explorer window. So if I were to look here into this folder that I decided to index, you will see it is exactly the same folder structure that I have on my Finder window here versus my Axel window. So we show you the content of the drive, we create previews, and you can easily browse, search, and play clips based on what you need. So try to click on this clip here, excuse me, you will see that I'll be able to have a preview created. So this is Axel in a nutshell. What you can do, because the interface is accessible from a web browser, you could potentially open it with a reverse proxying service. You can make it available to your network, to the internet. What we do is create a secure tunnel between a computer in the cloud and your Axel server. And this computer in the cloud is the only one that people from the internet are going to access. And it is going to query and return your Axel server. So your Axel server or your storage is not open to the internet, but you still provide global access from the internet. So you have the best of both worlds. You do not need to upload your media to the cloud. Your server is still in-house. Your media is in-house, but yet people who are working from home today, especially in today's world, still can access the media, which means that I can tap onto my colleague system, and we support secured connection. I can tap into my colleague system here, who is in London. He did not open his firewall, nothing, and I can just log in, and everything you see in Axel is basically the same interface, except that it is his system where I can search, I can preview, and I can download the clip that I need, for example. And that has been a quick 5 minutes run through of the Axel main interface. We can get back to the questions later. Let me see if there are any questions popping up. I do not see any, but again, don't be shy. We are here to actually have a dialogue. And let's talk about the admin settings. I'm not going to mess up the colleague system. I still like to be in good terms with him. So I am logged in myself and I am an admin user. So how do I administer this system? And it again can be done remotely on site. As a system administrator, I will be able to access the admin pages here. So by clicking, first thing I will see would be the user management. Now with Axel, you can define what the user can see, and you can even define the level of access that each folders will be given to a certain user. So I have, for example, here, and let me bring a small highlighter so you can follow the mouse a little bit better. And you will see here I have the list of users, and I have Freelancer, Patrice, and Axel. And you will see here the accessible folders. On the right side, you have the folder permissions, which will allow the user to basically, you will allow the system admin, should I say rather, to set up the permissions on each folders. Different folders can have different level of permissions. And below, you can have the different capabilities for the user. Say, is this user an administrator? Can he receive notification? Can he process AI, download high resolution and original media, and so on? So if I check the freelancer, he has only access to these 4 folders. And you will see that I have, on the right side, different type of permissions based on the folder. So let's create a new user, just for sake of for quick review. And I'm going to call this user webinar. You can give it a full name, you can leave it blank, it doesn't matter. And I will just give it a password, and I'll just go to give it a very short password available. And I'm going to save. Now this user webinar here is now available. And you will see that I can already change the permission down below. I can say, okay, let's have this webinar user webinar, share the files, and access the bins. But I do not give him access to AI or anything else. Let's save again. And each time you do not save, it is going to remind you to save. I can then choose which folder this user has access to. So I can just go and say car shoot, for example, only the folder car shoot. Going back here, I'm giving him access only to car shoot. And I can have multiple mod points or multiple volume that can be indexed at Axel. Going back to the client here, you will see that I have on the left side different things. So I can basically have more than 1 mod point accessible. It asks me if I want to save. Yes, I want to save. And let's add another one, such as baseball. And for each, and I'm going to save again. So we check preview by default, but for each, I can choose what the user can do. And I'm just going to let do pretty much anything but download and upload. And I'm going to save. And for car shoot, however, I'm going to let him download, and that's it. And I'm going to save. And I'm going to log in later on to show you the capability, to show you the difference with the user. But before I lose the admin session, let's review quickly the other pages. And not to save. Catalogs would be really where you set up the point. So you just point at Axel and it's going to index. So how do you index new files into Axel? How do you add new files? You simply create new folders, copy across the network, use accelerated file transfer, SFTP, you name it, whatever you can give access to get the file, Axel is going to automatically see these new files and generate a proxy for it. And you can choose where they are located. Here, everything is local on the documents, but it can be any drive mounted on the server, and you choose where you save the proxies. And same thing for the archives. You can set up the archive here. It can be another location on the machine. It can be LTO tape. It can be cloud. And what we call the archive will be the location that, say, I have older footage I may not need, but I still want to be able to find in my Axel. I can park this file somewhere else and free the space on my Axel system, and therefore get free the space that I need for new projects. But it still refers in my Axel. I can still find it, and if I need it for a new project, I can recall it from wherever it has been parked. So catalogs is really meant to handle the access points and where we free up the space if needed with the archive. Now let's talk about metadata, because Axel, first and foremost, is a search engine. It is a solution that will allow me to search based on keywords. It can be file name, it can be path, it can be AI generated tags, something I did not touch over Axel. We can actually use machine learning to tell you who appears in the video, what is being said, what is on the video or picture, and all of that can be used to be served. But as a user, you may have other specific needs. And this is what we call the custom metadata field. And these fields are what I can create as a system administrator to let my user say, now I'm seeing this clip, I'm going to click on edit. And from there, I can have text, so checkboxes, date field. So you name it, you can have different things and save. And all this information now that I have tagged will become searchable. And if I click on the little lens here, I will be able to just say, pick, for example, this checkbox or the date, and even pre-build the search engine. And I can add as many fields as I need. When it has been modified, let's say less than, let's say 1st of October, and I can build very extensive queries. And the goal will be, again, to find what I need. And why would you need such a tool? Well, this system, it will be a little bit slow because I'm sharing my screen, so bear with me, but this system has almost 1 million files. And I'm searching, doing the wildcard asterisk search for everything. And just again, bear with me for a second. It's got to come a little bit slower on screen sharing. And when it will pop up, you will see that I have, here we go, close to 890,000 files. It would be a huge problem for me to go through all of these files to find what I need. So now it took so long to actually find me these million files, but what if actually I'm a little bit more specific? What if I search on Benedict? Now, in less than a second, it went from 1 million files to 2. And it even tells me here that I have facial recognition that has been picked up here. And will show me that he appears here as a person with facial recognition. And if you zoom out, and you will see underneath where they appear in the video, and I can jump in the area. You will see other AI generated tags, such as transcript or actor speech, OCR, objects, and so on. So that was a quick show of why it is important and why having good metadata in addition to AI will be important, because I can find Benedict. Let's say I have many clips of Benedict. I can have SNL, I can have the date it was shot, the location, other tags that will allow me to find, for example, now, Benedict, SNL, and we say New York. And he found this clip, by the way. You can see that I can create, based on each of my mount points, or what we call catalogs, different schema. I simply give it a name, choose a type. So I would say, for example, webinar date, just to quickly see. And pick the type. I can change the order. Let's make it at the top. Add new field. It is right here. And if I were to go back and refresh this window now, where I have the video already, you will see that I have a webinar date first as a date. And I will say that today, save, and there we go. We have the new metadata field, and you can choose a different type, and we help you build the drop-down menus, radio button, and so on. These three would be most likely the page you're going to access the most. The appearance, not so much. You can change the title, you can change a little bit the proxies, but not much. Date format for European customers or other customers who prefer the year or day at first rather than the month. Choose the color between light and dark theme. If you remember, when I connected earlier, I got to my colleague's system in London, it was a lighter scheme and a dark scheme. We did it actually before it was cool on the phones, but it's by request when you're editing on Premiere, Avid, Final Cut Pro 10. It's a dark scheme, and suddenly if you come with a bright color, it may not be useful. Yeah, and you can choose the different logos and everything else. So that's really it for the appearance. In terms of the advanced, you go there once and that's it, really. It's where you can set up, what is the engine we use to generate the low resolution proxies, and whether or not we create mezzanine proxies. You can create an in-between that will allow you to edit from it. Different AI settings or the AI engine that I can connect to. Email settings, if I want to send email for notifications or sharing links and so on. So this will be really the kind of thing that you access only once. The last two actually quite important. You will see what is happening on the system, what were the clips that were rendered and where that were last. And you will also be able to always running, because it is always looking for new tasks to be done, but we have 0 going. So it is always going to tell me there is one task because I'm still looking for new ones, but we have nothing ongoing currently. And as soon as you have new files, it's going to pick up. And last but not least, the user activity log. Remember I edited earlier the metadata on this particular clip, and you will see the information right here of the one that I have created. And you can filter by, what file has been downloaded or uploaded and so on. So I can filter down to what I need. And this was now a run through of the user admin pages. And we have about 10 minutes left in this session. So I'd like to give a time for people to answer their questions. And let's see what we got. So one question, does it has to run on a Mac? Because I'm currently running on a Mac. That's actually a very good question. We have started Axel on Mac, but we do now have a Linux build that is going to run on VM, which you will be able to run everywhere. You can anywhere that you have a hypervisor. If you have VMware or VirtualBox or something like that, you will be able to run a version of Axel on Linux. We do have also a few deployments where it is running on a bare bone Linux box, but this is kind of a rare instance. But excellent question. The permissions. Oh yes, actually, good points. Thank you. I created a new user called webinar here. Let's review again a little bit. What are the permissions for webinar? If I go to Carshoot, I can only download, but if I go to baseball, I cannot download, but I can change the approval, post comment, or change the metadata. So let's log out from here, which is going to essentially kill my session here. So let's close it. And I'm going to log back in as a user I just created, which is webinar. And here I have access. The first thing I do see is the Carshoot. I did not talk about the home folder. The home folder will be the location that the user after login is going to land on by default. So Carshoot. Remember, we do not have the possibility to download yes, Carshoot is only download, but I cannot edit the metadata. I cannot change the approval. Despite me clicking, I will not be able to change the approval, edit the metadata. I cannot do anything. I can only review and download the clip. In this instance, I've only restricted the user to download also the lowest proxy. You can do that, or you can give them access to both the high-res original or the lowest proxy and the lowest proxy. Now, if I were to go to the baseball catalog here on the top left, here I did not give the right to download or anything else. However, I can change the approval. I can update the metadata. So team home will be Los Angeles Dodger. Save. So I can update the metadata, change the approval, but I cannot download or anything else. So this is the level of details that you can basically create the user permission and nothing to be seen in this folder. Let's see, any other questions showing up? Okay, so somebody was wondering about, again, the look and feel of Axel. There is unfortunately not much that you can customize with Axel. So one thing you can customize is, again, the color scheme between light and dark mode. Let me log out and log back in as the Axel administrator. So you can change dark mode and light mode, and you can also change the logo or even the title here. So let's take a moment to go. So going back to the admin settings, what I can do is actually also change for the user the logo. So if I were to take the webinar, I can choose a different logo for this user. I will give it this little hummingbird here. Save. And again, so you can change you can change the date format, the color between light and dark mode. You know, change the logo, change the title here, so I can just go and say the pointer with a little bit off, and say, for example, webinar demo. Save. Let me just relaunch the pointer. Just a little bit off here. Here we go. So webinar demo, and change the interface to light. So if I had to go back here and refresh, you will see that now it will be light in color. And let's log out, and I change the logo for webinar. Going back in, and now we'll have the hummingbird logo shown for this particular user. So you can change. You can change, and by the way, the title here, webinar demo, has been done. You can change the logo per user, and that is something that has been extremely useful for customers who want to have partners connecting in and collaborating with Axel. Let's see, any other questions? Yes, actually, it's a very good question. Can we do taxonomy with Axel? So the taxonomy metadata, for those who are not familiar, it will be creating categories within categories. Let's say that I have all these cars here. I can just go and say, what is the make, and then have a second set of metadata fields created from this particular set that will show me the different models. So if I select Ford, I will see Taurus, F-150, Mustang, so on. But if I select Chevy, it will show me Equinox and everything else. So that's a good question. We do not have this logo. This is something we are looking to implement. But that is a very good question. One thing we have found, though, is the more complex you would create a data schema, the less likely you will be for the end user to feed the information that you may need. And you know that we have people that want to have like 20 metadata fields, and that's fine because it actually allows you to find very quickly what you need. But not necessarily everybody is spending the time to feed the information. And so you end up having way too much metadata fields with not enough information that will be useful. So this is why we believe that the simpler approach for the end user is better. Now, there is a need, like I just described for the car models and so on, or if you want it to be a sport and have for each different leagues the name of the teams. You know, there is definitely a need that will be useful for user and simplify their lives as well. So we are aware of that. what we are also finding is that using AI tags is something that one is getting more and more affordable. Different machine learning and neural networks are getting better. And frankly, that's the way you're going to tag your media anytime soon. You know, if you think about it, you have your phone here. It tells you everything already. It tells you the location. It tells you who. It will tag automatically the face. Heck, it started now recently to tell me what kind of animals or pets is appearing. Or it shows me, hey, we have found a couple of pictures of you hiking. Here's a memory of you hiking. So it's already starting to analyze and tag that simplify the search on the phone. But in reality, you don't spend the time going to tag pictures in your phone. And this is what we're aiming here with Axel. We are aiming for you to provide, we are aiming to provide you tools that will help you find what you need and save on cost save on cost in terms of reshooting, re-renting equipment and everything else, and also wasting time hunting down for clips. It's something that can be time consuming. Again, I showed you I had 190,000 clips. You know, I mean, just 100. Picture just having to go through 100 videos to know whether or not it is the one that you need. And this is what we are trying to do here. Easy tagging plus AI tagging, we believe is the kind of right combination. That being said, this is something that we are still investigating and want to actually implement in a manner that will still be radically simple to the end user. And we are almost here at the end of the session, so I want to make sure that we did get to everybody. Let me see if we have any questions here. But these were very good questions. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate the participation here. I do not see anything else. So if that's all, folks, thank you very much again for joining. Really appreciate the participation here. To reach us, you can contact us directly with our first name at axel.ai. So my email address is Patrice, Patrice at axel.ai. And Axel is the Axel in a car, AXLE. And Katie is reachable at Katie, Katy at axel.ai. And waiting for questions. Going once, going twice. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate again really appreciate you being here, and feel free to reach out. And do know that we do have trials available, including with reverse proxy. So if you're in need to get access to your media from remote locations, we can help you with a free trial. With that, thanks a lot, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you.